Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be taking a look at a brand new book by Thomas Merceron. This is from Quintal Editions, and the book is called Les Trembles. The book is like a French edition, but there's no real writing in it. It's a silent book, so totally fine to get as is. It comes with a little preface card in here that's in French and a little print. So I'm not sure what this says in relationship to the book, but I don't think that diminished my experience of the book any. So if you're interested in this, it's fine to just go ahead and order the French edition. Really, this book is, I think, highly indebted to the works of Yuichi Yokoyama. It has that same kind of like being very close to almost purely abstract comics, in that it deals with like form more than content a lot of the times, or that the content and the form seem to merge, like in a Yokoyama, but it never goes all the way to abstraction. There's still a story being told, like in Yokoyama Yuichi. And so it's just like this trail of events going through the book. There's not a ton that I'm going to say about the story. I just want to give you some looks at some of the sequences that I thought were really nice visually, like this one where the rock gets thrown and now we're seeing the world from the view of the rock as it's like tumbling away. And so you get this alternation back between like light and dark and the tilts of the like camera angle. You have all these Dutch angles switching around. Just a lot of formal play like that does have narrative content, but then you break down into these things that become largely just abstractions that are about shape and those kinds of concerns in art. This is another one. Obviously, we're dealing with grass being blown of this rock that's landed, but the abstraction is foremost to me in a lot of these things, and that's how the book works. There's a number of different like techniques used throughout. This is all obviously preparing art for black and white, so a lot of these like textures and stuff I'm seeing more of that are using the diffusion dithers to look like risograph. This might actually be a risograph printing. Some of the ink has that look on it as well. That well, it doesn't like totally coat it because the risograph has that like variability of something a little more custom made. So that shows up throughout the book. Some of the most interesting images to me are when that diffusion dither pattern actually blows up large enough that the images start looking like they're hand stippled, which could be the case in this one, but here the dots blow up and you really get a clear look at how the image is made. Also, on top of that, there's this really cool set of lines, and what it is in the previous panel, you've seen a fly. You're zooming in on a fly, and so you're looking at the fly view of the world. And I really like that Thomas Merceron like only put a few of the fly lines, and what this is showing is like where those things line up. The grid of the fly's eye lines up to edges of values in the world, and sometimes those are like misapplied. Like here there's this little trail of dots. I don't know what it means, but that one has showed up. So it's almost acknowledging like not just how the fly's eye works and how the human's eye works by breaking things down into like dots of perception, playing with that visual perception in relation to how printmaking is made and all of that, but also like shows like the psychological state of making sense of the world through a fly's eye, which is astonishing to me, that like suggesting that the fly is navigating by kind of lining up the edges of these grids, and like the ones that do line up activating versus the ones that aren't lined up being a particular type of information that may be useful to a fly, is a fascinating concept that's all packed into this, this one set of images here as the fly is flying around, and all of these like edge pieces kind of are triangulating in on objects. Totally fascinating set of thoughts in just a couple pages with no words. So a like potently philosophical book in some regards for something that is so silent. And then just in terms of like showing some techniques, I really enjoyed was the white stippling on top of the gray diffusion dither. That's something I've kind of played with a little bit in Photoshop, since Sean's been, teaching me about diffusion dither and things like that. So a look I really like, and then I really like the way it's being applied here to this effect. So I could just go through the book and show a bunch of different things like that, but that gives you a general sense of like what this book is and how it courses, like it follows the course of a bunch of different natural phenomena happening, and really travels across the world to a bunch of different places, and then eventually cycles back around in the end. So it does have like a contained sense of it. It's not just totally wandering. This is the type of thing that I'm sure the more I went through and looked for thoughts like this in there, the more I would find, the richer it would be. And that's the kind of book that will like pay back revisits in that sense, I think, as well. So really, really enjoyable book. Something that's definitely more avant-garde. If that's your thing, then this is a really beautifully produced book. Got a nice silver on the front. If you're someone who doesn't like those experimental comics, then this one isn't for you. And I'm sure this is like a pretty limited edition. People know these aren't going to sell as well. But this is a really great book for the type of comics it is. And I personally, really do love these type of comics. So very excited by this artist and looking forward to seeing more by Thomas Merceron.